This has the day and the date.
Yeah.
It's called a day date. We really should. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
And I just want to nerd out over it.
We're not doing a day date.
This is a day date.
Oh my gosh. Welcome to How Stupid People Succeed. I'm Josh. This is Jeremy. And welcome to our podcast.
How many people watch this just to think about, like, one day we're going to have a whole week's worth of podcasts that's all the stuff that's not in the podcast. It's completely unfiltered, like, warning, you know, this is not, you're probably not going to like this. You're probably going to get offended. Don't let children watch it, like that whole deal.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
Well, first, we need to let everybody know we need to subscribe
What's up?
on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. Like, share, comment. What else?
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
Stop.
How does that feel?
No, I
Does
know
it
you're
feel
paying
good?
attention. I
See?
know you're. Stop. I know
No,
you're
your
paying-
intros are getting better.
They are getting better.
I'm not-
because I've been thinking about
I'm not
them.
crossing my eyes.
Yeah, you should go back to the. Everybody should go back to the Main Squeeze podcast and watch my crazy eyes the entire time when Jeremy's talking.
Oh my gosh.
It makes Jeremy feel like a real man when I pay attention when he speaks.
I'm at a loss.
So what are we talking about today, big guy?
Busy versus effective.
Busy versus effective.
How stupid people succeed.
Yeah.
They identify being busy versus being effective.
Well, before we jump into that, what's the difference between being busy and being effective?
You're already asking questions?
I am.
I don't have to serve it up to you?
Not today, baby.
Wow, that's amazing. What was the question? I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Shut up.
I'm just going to fit all of them in one.
Yes.
Busy is repeated behavior. It's high intensity, high stress. It's preoccupied. It's full. I think busy, when you say you're busy, there's that feeling of full. I think effective is proportionate. I think effective is deals with execution. I think effective is progress. I think when somebody says they're busy, you never necessarily associate with, oh my goodness, they're going to make so much progress in their life, right? There's no college class on be busy. When somebody is effective, I think it also gives a fair amount of trust to what they've put into the consideration of what they're doing. When somebody's busy, I think it's more of they're just trying to get something off their plate.
Yeah.
So what is that for you? Being busy or being effective? Because you have no shortage. You're definitely one of those people. You will always find a way to get yourself busy.
Probably accurate. That's true.
So how do you differentiate? Am I just doing busy work? Am I just keeping myself busy, or am I really being effective to my goals? Besides just being really lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, luck has a lot to do with it. I kind of equate it to, so when we first had Rafe, so Rafe's 7, and when we first had him,
So 7 years ago.
about 7 years ago, maybe 6 years, when he was a little older, but we had friends then who didn't have kids. And like we would find time, like, hey, like we can hang out, we can go out to dinner, we can go see a movie or whatever, or we can go to a game, and we'd have friends who didn't have kids, and they'd be like, oh, I'm so busy, I can't. And it's just, but that's like always the response you would get, and then you think as a parent then, as I did, 6-7 years ago, like you don't understand busy.
No.
So for me, there is a big difference between being busy and being effective, because I can fill my day with a lot of stuff, and that is busyness, so that's, but on the flip side of that, I think there is a little bit of busy that can carry over into being effective, but being effective to me is driving towards those goals and start, it's like, okay, if I gotta be at point A by the end of the day, or point B, I got to start taking little chunks out of those. And being effective is taking the chunks out of that so I can get to that goal. Busyness is a lot of miscellaneous dumb stuff that I find myself doing throughout each and every day, I'm sure. But something like this. So this could be something, our podcast, this could be something that keeps me busy. Or is it something that's being effective and kind of reaching the goal and, trying to get that desired outcome that we want.
Yeah. And ultimately, what are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
And I do disagree with you, though. I think busy and effective are always two different things. And I think they're almost always at odds. I think people that hold on to that or say, I'm busy, it's just you're not entertaining your brain's mental capacity to create a solution. I'm busy.
Well, for me, being
Typically,
busy.
that's the end of the conversation, too.
Yeah.
Hey, can you meet us over? I'm busy.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Because I think also when you're, and it's unfair to a lot of people, but I feel like, especially in my life, I've been around a lot of high performers. And I've seen high performers that want everybody to know that they're a high performer and they're gonna be busy.
Yeah.
I've also been around high performers that make life just look easy.
Yeah.
And obviously
yeah.
that's not true. That's my perception, but I also think it's a big part of being great and being successful. Is it doesn't look like you're pulling your hair out while you're doing it. It doesn't look like you don't have time for people. It doesn't look like, and I also think even that idea, that mention of busy, it's also very selfish. Don't impede. It's almost like a push away.
Yeah.
If you call me and you say, hey, Jeremy, how you doing? I go, I'm busy. Then what's your immediate reaction? What, do you want me to call you back at a better time? So I'm immediately already putting up the defense of what's going on. And I think how stupid people get successful, thank you, is they identify how to be effective because they realize whenever you start buying into the narrative, I'm busy, whether and you could be doing great in life, but you've bought into the narrative, I'm busy. I don't care who you are. I don't care how great you're doing. You have now capped what you're capable of accomplishing.
Yeah.
Because at some point along the way, what got you to be successful was being open and available to those opportunities. And if you're busy, you're going to push away things that could have popped up that you never thought were even possible, i.e., like the proof of concept that about, that whole POC, that whole opportunity came around from, a conversation several years ago. I wasn't busy, and I made myself not busy for a specific conversation, and it led into something that was, just completely different. And I have a lot of moments in my life where if I wanted to really hold on to I'm busy, my life would look completely different than it does look now. And I also think when people say I'm busy, not to offend anybody, I think you're just buying into just being dumb.
Yeah.
You're not being honest with yourself. I may be doing something right now, but it doesn't mean I'm going to do it for 24 hours a day for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So let's be creative.
That's true.
Identify a solution that then ties into how are you going to be effective with this?
But for me, I can use busy personally as just an excuse to not be effective.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
On purpose.
100%. In a lot of different ways.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're afraid of you can't hit the goal.
Yeah.
So now you get busy because it's your trump to why you never got to do what you really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it's like, well, what's the point? What's the point of doing any of it?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like let's say I leave this earth tomorrow, right? There's going to be a group of people that care, but it's not like the rest of the world stops.
I'd care.
You would care. Thank you. I appreciate it. But it's not like the rest of the world stops. So it's also understanding kind of your scope in this whole, over the course of human history game. You're because it's your world, it's really important, and I get that and I understand that. But at the same time, you can't take yourself too seriously or think you're that important.
Yeah.
Because you never know who's going to want to have that conversation with you.
Yeah.
You never know who you might be having that conversation with. And I think about all the time now that I'm kind of in the transition of being where that age where you're used to being, mentored by other people. Now I'm kind of in the transition of I'm being mentored, but I'm also mentoring other people as well. So I'm in the back and forth of that. And I think there's nothing that stops a conversation that I'm going to have with somebody to them just blowing up. Somebody I may have talked to or whatever. They associate a part of their success with some value that I gave to them. And then it becomes something that I benefit from in my life. And I think that's where the great lie of busyness takes it out of people. So for you, because you have no problem getting busy, there's obviously no shortage of stuff for you to do with all your responsibilities. How do you try to filter that, or how do you try to hold yourself accountable so that at the end of the day you're really moving forward? And how do you know?
Depends on the day.
Yeah, 100%.
It depends on the day I had before. the week I want to have. So kind of like my goals that week. And, if I set down and in the morning is the best time to do this. So my morning routine, I wake up, get ready, go to the gym, come back home, drink my shake, play with the kids a little bit, hop in the shower, get ready for work, get the kids ready for school, and then I'm gone. And then first thing I do at the office is I kind of jot out my goals for the day. And if I don't do that, I find myself really busy that day.
So not just business success, not just, what you're working towards, but in the busyness of a morning routine, right? Work out, cleaned up, eat, get dressed, get the kids ready, get to work, get to school, all that stuff going on. How then do you as a father not just wash away that huge chunk of your life from, let's say 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. or whatever, that 3 hours, 2 hours, whatever it is, to being a busy dad to your kids, to them being an effective dad in their relationship with your kids? Because you can go through the morning and you can be a busy dad that's going, okay, come on, we got to go. Hey, get your stuff. Hey, why didn't you grab your homework? Hey, why do you, whatever. And you can do that.
Yeah.
And you can be busy and you can get them to school on time. But it doesn't mean you're being an effective dad with that opportunity you have, which I think, again, that's one of the lies that busyness makes us feel good in. Well, I'm a good dad. I got my kids dressed. I got them fed. I got them to school. But you weren't effective.
No.
Because you trashed kind of the emotion in which they started their day.
Yeah.
Because dad's busy. Dad's got a big meeting, whatever it is.
And so I'll allow some busyness just from the sake of, I know that I'm going to have those opportune times with the kids, especially. So, that first 2 hours of my day, they're busy, but they're kind of on purpose. And then, so one of my favorite things to do in the entire world is take the kids to school. I love taking the kids to school. I'm thankful that I have the opportunity to take them to school as well. So, as we're going through the line, the drop off line to obviously when it's cold out, and and I'm sitting there, I'm speaking good words into his life. I'm telling him hey buddy, you're great at math, you're great at social studies, you're great at science, you're a great reader, you're great at adding, you're great at learning subtraction. And then so all these things that I'm purposeful about speaking into their lives, and get to pray with them every day before they get out of my truck to go into school. That's super important to me. And I'm really intentional about that. And so being busy versus being intentional or effective.
Yeah.
I can allow some busyness if I'm planning on having those intentional times where I can be an effective dad, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think it's a great flip of life, right? So you look at, here's what I have to do. Here's what I have to get done. And I can let that be a bearer of stress on me, or I can let that be, a chore or responsibility or, diligence or whatever you want to call it. And it falls into that busy category. Or you can flip it and say, okay, I'm going to be effective with my time.
Yeah.
So for this year, we kind of set up within my family, we kind of set up some family codes. So now that
safe words.
Yeah, safe words. Now that our kids are getting older, there's a lot more kind of culture I'm seeing kind of develop within our own family. Kind of the narrative of how we talk to each other, how we joke, how we work together, all those different things. And it's really cool to see that transition from, Sophia was, independent and we're taking care of Anchor. So we're still in that kind of survival mode. But now Anchor's doing his thing, and it's really fun to see that kind of take life. So we've tried to involve our family culture and them working with us to identify it. So and it was fun. It was a fun exercise. But in the intention, I think it's a great word to describe it that you pointed out. It helps create effective.
Mm-hmm.
So why am I doing this? And creating a why behind it, and not just allowing life to dump chores on you, because everybody's life has no shortage of chores.
Yeah.
No shortage of stuff to do, and no shortage of stuff that's gonna put you behind the 8 ball. But if you can look at it and be intentional, be effective, I think that's a way you can flip it. But I also will say it does take that level of intentionality. So if there aren't specific things that you can say that you do to make it effective, busy is a lot of just guesswork.
Yeah.
Right? You're just guessing at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you gauge then how do you filter then, or how do you look at, okay, let's say it's Friday afternoon and you're evaluating your week, or it's Saturday morning, you're just hanging out, you're evaluating your week. How do you put an action on the chopping block of it's busy or it's effective? It needs to be intentional, or it's a waste of my time, or I'm just not getting what I need out of that.
A lot of it is just from experience. From experience, that activity X is going to basically be a waste of time, where Y may be a little beneficial. Then you have activity Z here, which is going to be beneficial to everybody involved. So you try to prioritize those things, right?
So give me an example of something that you caught yourself in, okay, I've let this become busy, and that you flipped or you changed or whatever.
For me, it's the whole grasp of just the time management. So that's something that I'm not great at. I'm getting better at it. If it's not in my schedule, it doesn't exist. So being able to catch when I'm just being busy, when I know I need to be effective or intentional, it's those, obviously in business for me, because my schedule can run away from me. Being in the business that I am in real estate, it's like I'm quote unquote on call 24 hours a day, so I can, I can say, I can get a call at say 6:30 in the evening where I'm at one of Rafe's practices or Claire's dance practices. And, somebody wants to go see a house or they have a question. And I'm usually fairly good about responding, but, people wanting to go see something immediately, I'll use that time to just here's a little real estate secret is, I'll say, I'm in a meeting. I'm in a meeting because I want to be intentional about being there with my kids, because that is the number one thing that I cherish in life as being a dad. And I don't want to corrupt that for them. I don't want them to have, I don't want them to hate the business that I'm in and what I'm trying to build because I wasn't there for them.
Yeah, 100%.
And so being really intentional about being there for them, it's not always the easiest, but it's probably worse when I'm home, honestly. My phone's laying around or something, my little 5-year-old, she just wants to, I'm getting to the point now where I'm allowing her to take my phone and go play, cause she wants to play these little games on obviously the iPhone, but allowing her to take that really does free me up from just being a slave to the phone and that busyness.
Right.
Instead of turning around and being intentional about the relationships that are the most important in my life.
Yeah. And communication can help with that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. One life lesson that I had to learn was, I would try to race home and I'd get home and I'd come in the door, still on the phone. And Brittany helped me understand from her perspective. It's like when I come in the door and she can hear that I'm like in, Jeremy business mode, it almost brings in this level of stress.
Oh yeah.
Because it's almost like, okay, is that a good call? Is it a bad call? How's he going to feel after that? What's the read on Jeremy? And I come in the door versus,
God, what did you do to your wife? Jeez.
I'm an intense person. I've never, nothing bad, but it's but the intensity of if I'm in that mode, I'm in that mode, and I don't want to break that mode. And so for me, when I shift gears, it's a super hard shift.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not like one of these gradual, fluid people. It's I want to be all in on something, and then I want to be done with it. So I want to have very clear. And so for her, because she's a very fluid person, I could get off the phone and I could almost, within a couple minutes go to, okay, I'm here, family, whatever. For her, it wasn't like that. It was almost like a wave effect of the water would wash up on the shore. It's that stress is still here, maybe not for you, but it is for me. So being more effective with my family, it's a lot of structuring. There's certain nights that we have scheduled now that I'll work late. We'll be an open late night of work, and there's also nights where unless it's an absolute emergency, I'm gonna be home by 5:30 for dinner, and we're gonna have a family sit down meal during the week. Now we do stuff on the weekends, obviously, but especially with how intense I am and how I work, it would be nothing for me to go Monday through Friday and not see my kids or even really talk to my wife much.
Yeah.
And I know for me that's busy, but it's definitely not being effective.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the great lies, and I know we're going over a little bit, but one of the great lies is the satisfaction you get emotionally when you're busy. When you're doing a lot and you're getting pulled in several directions. It gives you a value and allows you to feel important, but life is not set up and the success of life is not structured for you to just be doing a lot of stuff. Because typically if you are a busy person, people are going to call on a busy person.
Yeah.
People don't call on the people that are just hanging out doing nothing. But there is that thin line between it doesn't matter how I feel. It doesn't matter what other people think. I'm going to find a way to be effective. And if I can take a 50-hour work week and I can get it done in 30 hours, then great. And when everybody's calling me and talking about how busy they are, or I'm talking with friends on the weekend and they're talking about how busy they are, I'm like, my week was great. My week was easy. But I also think that's because you have to pride yourself a little bit, not in a negative way, but pride yourself a little bit on saying, I'm smart enough to figure this out and I'm smart enough to be efficient, because we only get this life to live. And I don't want to just live it within the normal parameters of life. I want to have a condensed, rich, effective life, not just me being busy running in circles.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Good topic. I like that.
We'll bring it back. There's still a lot more there.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You ready to wrap up?
That's on you there, outro. Just when I thought.
So this is how stupid people succeed. I am Josh Cooper.
I still have a lot of questions.
That is Jeremy Dunn. And this is how stupid people succeed. Make sure you like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and make sure you comment and share this with somebody you know. We're done.